Hello, everybody. Margot here. Just to let you know that this week's episode is a rerun. I was honored to be a guest on the Enough Factor. Host Suzette Varinon, she opened up her podcast and allowed me to really give inspiration and information concerning the reinvention process. Isn't that what we're all doing in one way or another, reinventing ourselves? So I invite you to sit back, share this out, and let's have a conversation about the reinvention process. I give you how to and much inspiration. All right, bye-bye.
What if you knew you were enough? What would your life look like? What would love look like? This is the Enough Factor broadcast, where we're redefining what makes you enough in life and in love. Now here's your host, Suzette Varinon. Well, welcome to Enough Factor Podcast. It's season 2, y'all. And our mission is to help you redefine what makes you enough on your own terms. In fact, this season we're raising the bar from enough to more than enough. And we're doing it by amplifying 3 critical factors: your voice, your value, and your vision. And helping me today is none other than the creator and host of Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation podcast, Margot Lovett. Now, let me tell you something about Margot. Margot and I met online at WOC Podcasters, which stands for Women of Color. It's a Facebook podcasting group, and there was an invitation to post if you were looking for podcast guests. And so I talked about Enough Factor Podcast and what I was looking for and all that stuff, and Margot answered. And per usual, I had to immerse myself in all things Margot, her website, her social media, her YouTube, in hopes of getting a feeling of who she was before our initial phone conversation. But I wasn't ready for this dynamic woman. I'm just going to tell you, because she had me at hello. I'm telling you, her passion, her light, her warmth just engulfed me. And it felt like I was talking to a lifetime friend. That's the woman fuzzy. But there's more. Margot has lots of accolades, but what struck me most was how she reinvented herself in her 60s, something that she and I share. After ending 26 years of employment, Margot followed her passionate hobby, internet radio. In 2017, her business, her voice, her conversations first launched, equipping folks, supporting folks, and holding them accountable during the reinvention process. No small feat. Margot has appeared in Marketing Insiders, Influential Leaders in Marketing, and the Huffington Post. Verkay magazine not only featured Margot, but she graced their cover twice. Margot was a contributor to the women's leadership magazine, WOML, for 6 months. But most of all, Margot is proof positive that reinvention looks good at any age. So it gives me a great deal of pleasure to welcome to my virtual living room, Margot Lovett. Hi, Margot.
Hello, Suzette. Oh, hello, dear lady.
Oh, how I have looked forward to the continuation of our conversation. Because I got to tell you, girl, it got so juicy.
Yes.
I was like, I should be hitting the play button right now.
It was good conversation. Very, very good. Kindred spirits,
Yes, twin souls, two
Yes.
women who have gone through major transition, aka reinvention, in our 60s, right?
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Margot, I found that turning 60, girl, I feel younger. Do
Yes.
you feel like that too?
I feel younger on one side of the spectrum, and on the other, I'm able to bring some of that wisdom of life over. So I feel not only younger, but I feel fuller and better and
I
stronger
love
and
that.
much more able than I've
Yes,
ever been.
I love that fuller,
Yeah.
stronger, and more able. Isn't that great to feel vibrant, that
Mm,
youthful vibrance, but yet bring that wisdom and that
yes.
groundedness to the conversation?
It makes a big difference.
It makes a huge difference. Now, in the spirit of youthful play, let's do a little truth or dare, okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so what did life call you on the carpet about and demand you to tell the truth?
Ooh. Life demanded, and I don't mean to go any place dark or anything,
Girl, go
but
where you need to go. We can bring it all back up.
well, life demanded that I tell the truth about when I was 19, uh, a part of domestic violence, and with a boyfriend, and how 40 years after that, later, it was 40 years later that life demanded that I tell the truth about that, face that, so that
Wow.
that's what ran me out of corporate America. So that's the first thing that life demanded me to really tell the truth about. And when I did, that was part of the
Mm.
fullness and being better equipped. So that, because that's not a black cloud over my head anymore. That doesn't hold
Mhm.
me hostage anymore. And I was
Mhm.
doing an interview, as a matter of fact, the CEO of Verke magazine, and I thought that we were just going to talk about reinvention, but he's so skilled
Right.
and he is so crafted that he led me down this path. He already had it, the cobblestones on out, and my
Mhm.
spirit was able to go down that path and tell my story. And do you know it trended on LinkedIn, and it still is listened to by a lot of people because I just told my truth. Life
Mhm.
demanded that I tell the truth about that so that others could be helped. What
Mhm.
I thought was, and I thought I had to face and then just walk away from it, excuse me.
Mhm.
Um, I had to tell that truth to help others. And it was a real
Wow.
life changer for me, really.
Yeah, oh man, it's interesting you said that because what came to my mind was thinking of something similar that I had to face, and I remember one of the things that helped me to face it was this thing that I came out with. It's like it's easier to go into hell when you know you have the keys to get out.
Oh, yeah,
And
yes.
even though you had to go into that hell, you obviously had the keys.
Mm-hmm,
And so it
mm-hmm.
was time for you to go back in there and snatch back whatever part of you or piece of you was still being held hostage by that. Do you
Well,
think?
that's something that's interesting that you would that you would say that the keys, because it got so bad it got so bad that I started to visit a therapist
Hmm.
before I even quit the job. And it was like, okay, at that year that I was healing and still working with the therapist and that type of thing, there, I guess it was unresolved that the key was I've been working with this person, and then I left those thoughts. How can I place this? I had the keys by working with the therapist. Thought I was past it all. And when Mr. Randall brought the conversation up, the keys allowed me to go into that conversation. And that was really like, that's the final chapter. Now you really done with it. And that was, I didn't even
Hmm.
realize that until we had that interview.
I didn't realize it. So when you said key, yeah, the therapy was the key. It was in the door. And I hadn't just really unlatched the door until that interview came up. Because I was feeling some kind of way a couple of days afterwards. Not so sorrowful or, oh, I hate that I did it. But it was like resolved. And something that you would say that because I'm just realizing that's what happened. And that's how this reinvention process happens. It is a process. And when things like that come up and conversations like this come up, new things are unearthed. And once again, you are free because you have clarity, that big C word. Clarity.
Yes.
So thank you, ma'am. Thank you for that question. I appreciate that.
Now to the dare part. What was a dare that you took and how did it turn out? And it can be something life dared of you or someone else dared of you or something that welled up inside of you that said, yeah, I dare to defy this or I dare to prove it wrong. What was that?
Ooh, that's a good question. But what immediately comes to my mind is walking away from Verkay Radio, which is a huge network, huge internet network. And there's 5 or 6 other podcasts up under this one umbrella. Mm-hmm. And I started to think that I need firm stats. You know how Libsyn gives you stats and you know how many downloads. I needed that, and I wasn't able to get that from a network. I know that I reached 2 million downloads and streams, but I needed to be able to measure that on my own terms. So, and it's a Verkay, oh my goodness, Verkay Bashani. What a network, nurturing, loving. That's really where I got my start. That's how, as I say, I was able to reach 2 million downloads and streams. But I took the risk last year and I walked away, knowing that I was going to have to rebuild. But I built that thing organically once. So that was I dared myself to do that because I had to envision on down the road this year and next year where I want to be. So I thought I can stay over here and be safe and in the nest, or I can go where I know my heart and where my sponsorship is leading me. The sponsors that I'm going after are leading me and where they need me and where the organic growth is going. I need to go ahead and get started and go over there. So it was a big risk. It was like, oh, girl, what you doing? Oh, my God. You talking about a praying sister. Lord, is this going to work? And so far, so good. Excuse me. It's organic, small growth. Excuse me.
Sure.
But we're growing and we're gaining ground. Will I get back to 2 million downloads and streams? I don't know. That network has deeper pockets than myself. I'm just trying to get before my audience.
And I love the fact that you took a risk because I think that's the beauty of reinvention. Once you've reinvented yourself once, it's like you have a formula inside or you have the confidence inside that you say to yourself, if I've done it once in this area of my life, I can do it again in another area of my life. And it's not as scary or daunting.
Yes.
Would you say? Yeah.
It's scary, and you don't want to move about things lightly because reinvention, you invest in yourself. There's a monetary investment. Most of the time, there's a huge monetary investment, and there's that time investment. But you're exactly right. When you reinvent yourself, then you've laid a good platform. You've laid a good foundation. And my strategist, the gentleman, Brother Bedford, who helped me build out her business, her voice, her conversation, said, whatever you do with this, we have built this on a firm foundation. And whatever you do, it's not going to collapse. And that is certain. So that is such a lesson. Whatever you reinvent to do, take your time, build it out on a firm foundation so that whatever your next move is, it's not going to collapse. And I tell anybody that.
That's where we mess up. We hurry up and we're looking to the left and we're looking to the right and what everybody else is doing. Oh my God, the podcast is 3 years old. I don't have any sponsors. I don't have even 1,000 downloads and listeners. Well, you know what? Maybe that's your niche. Maybe your niche is not going to grow as large as everybody else. Maybe you're not taking that shotgun approach. Make sure you're just building whatever you do is being built on a firm foundation. You're going to be all right. Just methodically keep working that thing and keep moving. You had to start somewhere.
Exactly. And I know for a lot of people, I think social media kind of feeds into this, though I love social media. Yes, I do. But I think sometimes it feeds into this thing of quick, fast, and in a hurry. And my husband had to remind me, we were having a conversation, not quite that one, but about a different topic. And he reminded me, he said, baby, a seed does not start out as a full-grown tree. I don't care what you do. You cannot plant a seed today and expect it to be a full-grown tree tomorrow. You plant the seed and you keep nurturing it. You keep right on doing it. And as you do that, it grows. And I think that's something that I think sometimes gets lost in the translation. Because we see these overnight, it seems like they're overnight sensations. It seems like it. But if you were to really sit down and talk with most people that seem like overnight sensations, they have been doing, praying, knocking on doors, been in obscurity for a long time, planting those seeds that nobody even knew about.
Yeah, that's the truth be told. Plus, you know what, Suzette, another thing comes to my mind. We're talking about a long time. We're talking about years. I'm looking at some trees outside my house. I've been in this house 20 years, and I'm looking at the trees that were planted when we first bought here. And we didn't have trees with leaves and that offered shade overnight. Years grooming and seed feeding and all of that. Plus, you know what else we have to watch out on social media? And I happen to love social media also. But we live in an age where you can buy anything, and I hate it. You can buy likes. You can buy reviews. And I don't like that. I don't subscribe to that, but so many people do. So when when we talk about some people, these overnight successes, or I made Apple Podcast #1, I'm always kind of leery about that. I'm just down for the slow grow. It's okay with me.
Yeah, because organic lasts. I was contacted just the other day by someone who was doing online summit. And she was saying, all the beautiful things. Oh, I saw your work. Oh, all the right things that I was like, this might be a very good match. But then I said, what life has taught me is to vet that person just as much as they're vetting me. Yeah. And I said, well, tell me what your requirements are. I said, because even though I know 2 summits aren't alike, I also know that there's a marketing aspect of summits that are a priority for some people.
Yeah.
I said, and I want to make sure that our values are in alignment about your being on your summit. And she was like, well, let's just have a 15-minute conversation and we can do that. I said, well, you know what? No, both our time is valuable. So let's go on and find out right now, what are the requirements? And then we can both save ourselves the trouble if I'm not a good fit for you or you're not a good fit for me. And so just like she said, well, I'm just starting out and I really am looking to grow my list. I said, I got that. I said, and while I don't knock it, because it is a wonderful strategy if it works for some people. I said, but for me, I never started out my summits that way. I didn't even know about it. I said, all I knew was I was looking for people that had something valuable to offer to my listeners. I didn't care about how many people they had on their list. I didn't care whether they had a website page or not. I just wanted to hear the quality of what they had to share.
Yes.
And I said, and as a result of that, that has become such a central value of mine, that if your distribution list is your main driver for this, I'm going to have to respectfully decline.
I hear you.
You
And we all
know?
want to build our lists out. And
Yeah.
because we don't own Facebook, we don't own LinkedIn. If we get in Facebook jail, we don't have access to folks. If we something happens with LinkedIn, I totally agree with what you're saying. It's this
Yeah.
human aspect of it and the thing of relationships. And that's where I got in trouble last
Yes.
year. In 2019, I met so many wonderful, awesome people. And I got so disorganized with keeping up with people that
Yeah.
brought so much value to my life. And I really wanted to keep the wheels rolling and sow into their lives. And everything just snowballed. So that's exactly where I'm at, trying to not build a list, but stay in contact with folks on the list and bring value. That's like,
That's
holy
it.
cow, Jesus.
That's it. Because I
It's
mean,
huge.
that is huge. It is huge, and it's so huge that you have to really like stay focused on what is it that I want to give to people. Because after a while, if your list gets so big and people give you all their feedback, and not to knock it, because I believe our voice
Mm.
is not just for us fo and no mo. It's global.
Yes.
That's why we're doing it the way we're doing it. But at the very same time, sometimes you can have so many people in your ear telling you what they want, what they like, that you forget the real reason or the authenticity of your message and what you're supposed to put out there in the world. And that's why I'm so glad we're talking, because I know you're the podcast queen, lady.
I love it. I really love it. And you know what? The power behind it. And women of color, it's time, especially us boomer women, we have
Yeah.
so much to bring. See, this conversation is totally unscripted, so we have a richness and we're not out to prove anything. Yes,
Mm-mm.
we know that we have an audience that we are glad to bring to sow into, but no, we're not
Yeah.
so quick to want to shift our message. Oh,
Mm-mm.
this week I'm over here with this person, and next week I'm over here with this person because that's what they said they need. We're not trying to be all things to all men. We know that we can't be. We're not even designed to be. So we're
Mm-mm.
not killing ourselves to be that. I myself, I know that my message is to bring people, bring information how to information, instruction, information and inspiration to boomer women leaving corporate or have left corporate. And they want to be podcasters. They want to get their book out or they want to launch that business. And other than that, I'm not the show to listen to. I'm not the person
Mm-mm.
to reach out to. And I'm fine with that because that's big to me. And to cover that's my territory. That's where I'm supposed to
Mm-mm.
be. So,
Oh, wow. You're so necessary.
well, you
Margot,
are
you
too.
are so necessary, because there's so many of us women who are finding ourselves needing to reinvent. And sometimes one of the biggest things I think for a lot of us is wondering if we can do it or
Yes.
if we're enough. So, can you talk to that about how you help people to discover that enoughness, to get that a motivation to reinvent themselves, and if podcasting is their niche, to really
Mhm.
launch into it?
Well, you know what? I'm glad that you spoke to being enough because I think we all, that comes to our minds, especially when we're beginning to write a book. Who's going to
Mhm.
buy it? What am I going to say? How transparent should I be? I mean, and what happened to me in corporate, I didn't even put that in my first book. I wasn't covering that. No way, no how. I just talked about going into this was after the process and the steps that I took to reinvent myself. So when people ask me, I ask them about their why. For me, it's always honestly write down your why. Why am I starting this podcast? Why am I beginning to write this book? Why do I even want to? It's even bigger than who your audience will be. Because if you aren't secure in your why, when the push comes to shove and you don't want to write or people aren't listening, seemingly listening, not paying attention, as my strategist says, be careful with that because somebody's always watching
Always.
you. You never know. People will
Always.
watch for years, not subscribe. You won't even know that they are trailing you. Or maybe when you're launching your business, okay, you're not making even $100 a month. What is your why? Always visit your why, and that will help bring you back to but I'm enough for this, because the why is always wrapped up in passion and your grounding. That's what I found. The why. And God gave me this excellent voice. And I have to always bring it back to me.
Yes.
God gave me an excellent voice. He brought me out of corporate so that I would have enough grit and gumption to do this. He gave me the name of my podcast, Her Business, Her Voice. Yes. Wow. All I knew was it was time to get back to this thing that I've been doing as a sideline hobby to keep my sanity in corporate. But when it was time to get back into it, I said, okay, God, what's the name of this podcast? And I literally had to jump out of the bed. Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. I heard it in my head. I learned to keep a notepad and pen by my bed. I wrote it out, told my strategist, this is the name of the show. And we started out from there. 2 months of just laying that foundation. January, we said, okay, we're going to launch. It wasn't 6 months, a year of planning and getting this thing together. It was like, no, we have the name, we're doing it. So you have to, that always goes back to my why. What are you equipped to do and undeniably equipped to do? Wrap that up into your why when the going gets rough and somebody's questioning and you're questioning and you're looking around and it looks like they're way ahead of me, and even some of your entrepreneurial friends. But then it comes back to how long have they been in business? How many books have they written? How many podcasts do they have out? And nobody's going to be able to do what you do like you do it, because you are the one.
You are the one. And you're not just enough. You're more than enough.
Yes.
Do it. Because if you were just enough, then that wouldn't change the world. But the more than enough that's you. Yes. Is what's shaping the world. Have you found that the why has to sink from an intellectual level or a comparing myself to everybody else level to that deeper, what is it? Someone called it that gritty why, in order for people to really launch out and reinvent themselves in that way?
You know what? And this comes to a chapter that I have in my book, and it came from the therapy. Before your why, my why is anchored in the fact that I took the time and invested in getting the wolves and the owls and the bears, doing that inside work. Because if you don't do that inside work, and it's a continual thing, and people saw it unearthing again, as we talked about, that key. But you have to work with that stuff for your authenticity to come up like a geyser, for your why to be firmly anchored in that foundation that is not going to collapse. It's all a part of that organic growth. And it does begin with you. I don't care what anybody says. It's all an investment. And
I believe it.
Deep look. Yeah, you can. This reinvention is not for the chicken butt. It is not for the cheap state.
Hello.
It is not for the person that is overly fearful. It is not. It's not for a person who doesn't want to rock the status quo of themselves and even others, because we are creatures. I guess everybody knows by now, I'm saved. I love the Lord. And we are always unveiling and becoming. We are, as Michelle Obama, we are always becoming, discovering who we are, the depths of our power, the depths of I am enough. I am more than enough. And that is a peeling away and a discovery, and it doesn't come overnight. But we have to start there so that our roots go down deep and our why is anchored in what we know. We just know, and nobody can take that away from us. You know that you are more than enough. You know that. Nobody can take that away from you. You know that you're called to do this podcast. You hear and you feel the audience. And so nobody can take that away from you. I don't care. In 10 years from now, you'll know that I did what I was supposed to do. I offered meat for people that have milk in a meat-eating world. You know, people don't need milk. They need the meat of why they are more than enough. They need people coming on and popping their lips, and as my mama say, offering up the cootie guas. They're looking for people who are going to come and say, you are more than enough. And why I know this is to be, because I'm more than enough. And I can tell you, watch my story, look at my story, look at my future. More than enough. Girl, I'm passionate. I'm off on a tangent.
Oh, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Because when you were talking, I thought about that work. I love the fact that you said that you are a Christian, you love Jesus, because I grew up in church as well. And I find that for a lot of people that have grown up in church and are subscribed to that a lot of times instead of them doing the work, they think they can just pray it away. If I can just pray it away or go to church enough, have hands laid on me, do enough ritualistic stuff, I can avoid it, like beam me up Scotty. But one of the things that has really hit me between the ears, Margot, that has become a real focal point for me in 2020 is that of confronting your valley. And that's doing the work. You got to confront your valley. There's no way to avoid it. Whether you go Old Testament, confronting your valley, whether it's in the New Testament, even Jesus had to confront his valley, and that was called the wilderness. You have to go through something that tests and tries and gets down to the hurt places, the wounded places, the human places, those places you don't want to talk about, those places you're trying to avoid, those places that you're trying to be good enough, smart enough to avoid, to compensate for. You still, in order for you to own your voice, own your value, own your vision, own the conversation, own your business, all the things that we're talking about, you have got to confront the biggest enemy, and that's enemy.
Yes. Girl, you said a mouthful.
Got to. Yeah. And you got to do it. Pray while you're doing it. You know, pray while you're doing it. But you got to do the work. And it's not one of those things. And granted, there are some miracle stories that we know of people that went to church and they never smoked again. Or they went to somewhere and they never dealt with something again. But that's the miracle. That's the exception. That's not the rule. At least that's not my story. Everything that I have in my possession right now, God showed me how to fight and go get it.
Yes, say that, Suzette. That is true. You had to get up and go get it. Had to get them rock and them slingshot and them rocks. Had to go ahead and do that action. Nobody else can. And we get mad because they don't want to help me. People take you as far as they can. Exactly. God will take you all the way. But I hope the listeners caught that. That's powerful stuff. That's true talk right there.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God, Margot, I'm telling you, we might have to do a part 2 on this, but lest we should run out of time because we have shared some good stuff right here, right now. Before we draw to a close, tell me this, because you talked about the future, 5 years from now. What do you see yourself doing and the impact that you see yourself making?
Wow, 5 years from now. And I know that corporate always has a 5-year plan. And I started out with a 5-year plan, but I'm going to be in my 70s. And I am pretty sure that I'm not going to let age define me. I'm pretty sure that, I'll probably be podcasting, probably. But I'm sure that by that time I'll have a couple of journals out because I think I'll still be connected with people, but I'll probably have some journals out, do a journal every year. And I don't know that I don't know, in all honesty, I don't know that I want to go through the rigors of producing a podcast on a weekly basis. I think that I will go ahead and have these journals out, and I will want to still help people realize their best life. And I would just want to be on people's podcasts. That's what I think I'm going to do. 5 years from now, that's what I think all of this is going to go to.
I can accelerate the 5 years now, because right now you are on my podcast, and I look forward to you being on it again and again and again. And when we're 70 and 75, girl, we're going to still have a lot to talk about.
Oh my God. We'll be laughing back, looking back at today, because so much will have happened in our forming of our podcast, the meeting of different people. Oh, the conversation. You know how 5 years, you know how deep that conversation is going to be?
Girl, our voice, it's like, when I know one of the things that we both share that podcast allows us to do is to share our voice, which is us, our experience, our insights, all the things that we've gained. Can you imagine us at 70, 75, 80? What powerful voices we'll be at that time?
We met some awesome people. God. The stories that we tell. I just started a speaking thing. Excuse me, and I know if I can just close out with this.
Go ahead.
The Lord opened up a door, so I was able to speak at a leverage conference it's about 3 weeks ago now. And I just told stories about how being a podcaster allowed me to open up doors for other women. They also were able to grace the cover of a couple of magazines, leadership magazines, and how they were able to leverage their conversations and really make them work for themselves, or even build up their own confidence. And it's on my heart and mind to really just take that to another level and really try to find different venues to share the stories of women that I've had conversations with, men and women, because I even had a chance to have a conversation with former Congressman Walter Tucker III. And you think that right there, that was, woo, he left no stone unturned. Congressman Tucker told the real truth about everything, and my jaw dropped, and I went into it scared. This is a congressman,
Yeah.
But he was gracious, he was kind, and that's when I really realized, stay true, Margot, because people want to share their truths. If they know that that's how you roll, they are going to be fluid. They are going to be free. And that's the reason why now I have stories to share with others. So that in 2020, I'm going to look for opportunities to share the stories of others and the power of podcasting, the power of being a guest on a podcast. You never know who's listening. You never know where that show is going to go. And that's powerful right there. We got the steering wheel of a big Mack truck, and we are being responsible drivers.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So Margot, tell our listeners how they can find you. I'm going to have it in the show notes too, but just in case they're driving while they're listening, we don't want them to get in any trouble trying to.
No, I'll keep it real simple for them. Just go to my website, Margot, Margo, Lovett, LOVETT.com. That's my website. Everything's there. And, of course, you can always say, well, I'm on every major platform. Who cares? Go over to the website. Everything's there. Keep it simple for them.
That's how I found you. Because, girl, it was so funny, y'all. I'm going to say this and then I'm going to end. Even while I was getting ready to talk to you, I was immersing myself in you. And then you told me you were listening to me. I'm like, you know what? This is wild. So we were fangirling. It's like, as soon as it's like, oh girl, we were just fangirling. Because girl, you are so wonderful and so necessary. And I feel absolutely blessed to have met you. And I feel honored that you would agree to be on my podcast.
I feel the same way. And I know we got to close, and oh my goodness, but I need to let your listeners know that we feel this energy and synergy, which is so very real, to the point where, and it's not because you honored me to be on your show. I am very honored to be here. before your audience, because you're like me, you're very protective of your audience. But I feel that we still have conversation. So as we spoke of the panel discussion on Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation, I'm going to pair you with one other person. And if you think of somebody who would be good for the lineup, let's have a conversation, a panel discussion where we just talk about being enough. What makes us more than enough? So before 2020, with the first 3 months of 2020, that's what we're going to do. Because when we spoke of it, it stayed on my heart and mind. That's something that has to be done. We're going to do that.
We're going to do it. And I can always tell when it's the right thing, because even after all the adrenaline is gone, if you still feel excited about it, you know it was the right thing. And even after we talked about it, just you saying it again, I cannot wait.
Well,
I am so excited. I just know this is going to be absolute magic to a whole nother level. And I am just looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to all the ways that we will collaborate and our paths will cross, and how how we're a part of each other's story. That this 2020 story in our lives could not be written without us coming together. And so I feel blessed. And so listeners, we thank you so much. Margot, thank you so much for sharing your gems, your nuggets. There's so much more. I'm going to have even more